Etiquette only has one rule, but funnily enough, it's exactly the rule that most of these online etiquette experts seem to ignore. But today, let's look at that one very simple rule and see how it affects every part of our daily lives. This follows on from an absolutely brilliant request I had from one of my channel members. And basically, as far as I see it, there's no greater honor than someone becoming a member when they're following my channel. So I like to try and reply to these straight away. So it says, Simeon, good day. I was hoping you could make a video on respect and how to treat others and proper behavior and communication. That is an awesome video. Now, funnily enough, it's probably a video that sadly will not get a lot of views. That doesn't bother me, but what it is a symptom of the problem. If I made a video that I called 10 biggest etiquette mistakes that celebrities make and shamed 10 different celebrities trying to say how rude they are, how stupid they are, and all these things they do wrong, it would get loads of views. And this is what plenty of people do. And it's been proven to get thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of views. But anyone who purposefully points out the shortcomings of others is showing terrible etiquette. So if I cast myself as an etiquette expert and pointed things wrong with other people, then straight away I would not be an etiquette expert because I would not know the one simple and overriding rule of good etiquette. This rule is also what Christians call the golden rule. So it's the one rule that Jesus gave us all to live by, which is do unto others as we would have done unto us. It sounds incredibly simple, and yet it's incredibly hard. Good manners and being kind cost nothing. As a butler, you're always expected to look after the people that you're working for. But I'd like to say that the attitude of a butler is someone that cares for and looks after everyone. Because if you don't like looking after people, I think you'd find it incredibly difficult to look after the people that you have to serve. For me, I'm not trying to sound like some sort of saint, and I get as frustrated and annoyed with people as anyone else. But I do try and give myself a challenge, which is to be kind and to help people. Especially on this channel, you'll see I get a lot of requests and a lot of questions from people. And a lot of people would say, well, you should really charge to help people with things like that. But I always do my best to try and help people if I can. So you'll notice that in the question, there was no mention of the word etiquette. But for me, etiquette is actually a very good description of what's being described. Good behavior, good manners, always doing the right thing for those around you. Now, this can be the simplest things, like holding a door open for someone, raising from your seat when someone enters the room, always wishing someone a salutation, good morning, good afternoon, expressing a care in their well-being. I hope you're well today. Even the small nuances of etiquette, things like you should tell someone that you hope they're well, as opposed to asking them if they're well. This is all just part of being kind. Let me break that down. The thing is, if someone isn't well and you ask them a direct question, are you well? They may well not want to go into details into the illness which they have. Illnesses are very private, personal things. And if someone says, are you well? The last thing that most people want to do is say, well, I've just been to the hospital and I've been told I've got this extremely serious disease. But if you say to someone, I hope you are well, they can say, thank you so much, because it's always right to say you hope someone's well. If they then choose to tell you about the problem they are having, then that's wonderful. A problem shared is a problem halved. But if they wish to keep it to themselves, equally, that's just respect. It's funny how these little social norms have become known as being some sort of archaic rule. People see them as something to keep down the working classes. But nothing could be further from the truth. These social graces do not cost a single penny and are no more difficult for a billionaire to do than someone with no money at all. In fact, you could argue that they're more difficult for a billionaire because a billionaire has no one to tell them no. Something that I often get asked, and I'm sure that all of you discuss regularly as well, do I think there's been a decline in etiquette and good manners? This is difficult because we're always looking at the world through the perspective of ourselves and our timeline. But objectively speaking, it's incredibly difficult to not come up with the conclusion that etiquette and good manners have been diminished by society and subsequent generations. My grandparents' generation thought of etiquette and good manners being above everything. My grandfather in his 70s, 80s, and even 90s would stand up and offer his seat to a lady in her 20s. Now, of course, I appreciate that you'll all point out that she actually would need that seat far less than him. And that's true. But that doesn't mean he wouldn't offer it. It's good manners. But now, when I see people on the bus or the train, I'll be honest, I see many 16, 17, 18-year-olds who could very easily stand on their own 2 feet for the duration of that journey, remaining seated while there's octogenarians attempting to hang on to a seat and not fall down. That is obviously bad manners. And that is something that society needs to take in hand. In my opinion, one of the real issues today is social media. Now, I appreciate you could point out the irony that I'm a YouTuber and therefore am I not part of the problem? But I will say no. Partly because these long form videos I do not see as social media, I see it as media, which is of course a totally different thing. And secondly, I always do my best to always portray a good and wholesome and constructive outlook on life. But every time I stray into the world of TikTok or what's it called, Instagram Reels, I see a huge amount of bitterness, a huge amount of someone else has it better than me. Always it's different cultures, different races, different genders, all trying to poke the finger at the others, saying they've got it better or they're doing something wrong. And it's hard not to be drawn out into these conversations. It's hard not to be sucked into a rabbit hole of hate. Because for all of us, if we see someone describing ostensibly us as being bad or wrong, it's difficult for us not to see that as a call to arms and try and argue that we are in fact correct. And all this does, of course, is spread hate. Good manners would be to turn the other cheek and ignore these things said. And realistically, the more they're ignored, the less they're going to be said, because all these people want is attention. Trolls are merely sitting at home feeling pathetic, probably living in their parents' basement, wishing they had the lives of the people that they're commenting on, spreading the bitterness and vile thoughts that are sadly coming from their own feelings of inadequacy. It's a great shame that that's become such a big part of society since social media. But what can we do about this? I don't want this to be a video about saying how bad things are, because that, as I said, that's very much against the point of my channel. But we can all change this very quickly. There's nothing more addictive than a positive attitude. If you walk down the street, greet people with a smile, show your friends, your work colleagues, your family respect, happiness, they will go and they will show others with respect and happiness. And before you know it, that respect and happiness will have spread around the world. It might seem silly to say the idea of one person being friendly to others could spread around the world, but think of the theory of 3 degrees of separation. So soon, these ideas of hope can spread. But alas, the same is true from bad thoughts and bad actions. It's the dog that's kicked that bites. So to sum up, I'm going to circle back to etiquette and set everyone a challenge to look around them at what's happening. Do people stand and open the door for others to pass? Do you stand up and welcome someone into the room when they enter, or do you ignore them and continue scrolling on your phone? Do you truly listen to people when they speak to you? For all of us, the truth is probably sometimes. But if we can all change that to every time, then the world's going to be a better place. Now, as I mentioned, this video probably won't get that many views because the algorithm doesn't seem to like spread of hope and happiness. So all I can do is ask you to do it the old-fashioned way. Let's manually spread this feeling of hope, and if you feel like sharing this with others, I'd be really grateful. And please comment what you think. Am I right that society has less good etiquette and manners than it used to? Or am I being unfair? Am I just seeing it wrong? Am I missing the bigger picture and it's the same or better? You let me know. I'm always fascinated to hear everyone's opinion on this. Thank you very much. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.